Alrighty. Let people join on in. See a one Mr. William Clemens here. I will. If no one joins, I'm just going to start singing. And then it's going to be real awkward for you two.
I'll get on my phone and join in as an undercover Zoom account.
There we go, yeah. I think we could get a nice little, what would a 3-person singing group be called?
A trio.
Trio. Because there's a quartet, right?
Yeah.
That's 4. A tritet. Oh, all right. Man, this is the perfect one to take for Boss Pedersen if no one joins. We'll give folks a few minutes. I bet the new link thing is going to mess them up. All right, I am starting to see a few folks join in here. So I'll go ahead and get everything kicked off, I guess. Welcome everyone who's joining or listening to the recording. Let me just dive right in. My name is Eric Wolmerink. I work with the product management team over here at Decision, and I'll be hosting our daily Lunch and Learn. So just a couple updates for the day. Yes, today is Tuesday. I took over for Will Pedersen. A little bit about myself. I've been with Decisions over a decade now, and in that time got to do just about everything, I think, except sales. But I've done professional services. I've done support. For the bulk of my career here, I actually headed up all the training efforts at Decisions. I help lead our security and compliance and documentation teams. And today, I help kind of drive everything towards kind of the future of what Decisions is planning on doing. So what is our next major releases? What sort of enhancements and features are we adding to the tool? And so that is kind of my role here, is helping to be kind of a product manager, driving the direction of Decisions. But as always, this Lunch and Learn is an hour for you guys to ask any questions you may have. Please feel free to post questions you have in the chat or in the question and answer panel. If you'd like to discuss something, go ahead and come off mute. Yeah, ask any and everything you have, blockers, how to build stuff in Decisions. If you want to know about the future kind of updates and builds, I'm happy to talk about like version 9 and the next major things we're doing. And so that is some of my expertise. So yeah, a little bit of dawdling aside, we didn't have any pre-submitted questions, and there's no questions in the panel now. So get those prepared and type them in. But yeah, otherwise, let's start with version 9. Let me talk a little bit about version 9 because I think it's kind of the coolest things we're doing. So yes, some of you guys have heard this or may have heard the announcements of version 9 coming or beta testing. Right now, we are in a beta test state for the version for the next major release of Decisions version 9. We have a number of partner and customers going through the early build, testing it, making things are working. And we're really heavily focused on getting this into your hands. Now, the targeted release is going to be the early May. So we're hoping in about 2 or 3 weeks here, we'll be getting this as the public release available for all of our customers. You'll be able to start downloading it and testing it and implementing it yourselves and getting to use all of the great new features that we have to offer. Today, since unless there's questions, again, this is open for any and everything, so please feel free to post anything you have in the chat or the Q&A panel. I'll walk through some of the kind of major things that are happening with version 9, some of the major updates and changes that we're making to Decisions and things you can look forward to implement. And so I think the easiest way to do this is honestly just to dive into the Decisions platform. This is our beta version that you can sign up for and download today. So if you would like to play with this yourselves, you can actually go download that from our releases site, which is just releases.decisions.com. But the big major change with version 9 is everything's in now a higher organization system that groups all of your work together called projects. So traditionally in the past and previous versions of Decisions, you had a folder tree on the left, and all of your work was in this folder tree. So you would put your flows and your rules and your customer-facing dashboards, or end user-facing dashboards rather, and it all would live in this one place, and it would kind of become the Wild West in the sense where everything would just live here, and if you didn't organize it well or didn't have good controls and didn't assign permissions, it all just kind of became a jumbled mess. And so we decided to put everything into better silos of work or constrained areas of work called projects. So everything you build now as a designer, anything you want to create, is now going to live in this kind of projects section of Decisions. You also may notice that one of the impacts of this change is that we've removed the end user portal concept versus the studio portal. And so now projects become where developers go build, test, view their work, inspect their work, audit all the behaviors, check in, move between environments. It's all going to live inside of the project idea. And then you can still create folders and dashboards for people to use who don't have access to those projects. And I'll talk a little bit about how to do that in just a minute here during this demo. Again, just interrupt me if you got questions or want to ask something completely different. I'm happy to do whatever. I'm just talking because I'm here and would love to talk about version 9. But yes, so you'll see a new tab on the left. This is where projects get created. You can click the plus icon or the create project button to create a new one, or click into any existing project that you already have access to. So I'll create one here. We'll call this the Lunch and Learn. It does require a description. Let's demo Cool V9 stuff. And it requires some sort of icon. This icon is actually referenced when you use this project across the portal. So it is kind of important. I don't know if we have any like food icons here. Apple. Hey, there's an apple. Cool. Like Lunch and Learn, get it? Apple. Terrible pun. But you go ahead and create a project. And the first thing you'll notice is you're going to jump right into this screen, which is starting to be kind of the overview landing page for everything that you're going to build inside of your project or things that you're working on here. So I'm going to create a flow, just one that we can use. We're going to say demo v9. Oh, I hit 8 there. That's okay. We should change the name of this. This is not 8, that's 9. That's fine. And I'm going to build a really simple pop-up step. Again, not much has changed in the designers for version 9. You'll notice quite a few style updates. Everything at the top now has become icons instead of text. We've updated kind of the look and feel. It's now blue instead of that really bright orange. But functionally, nothing really has changed here. So I wouldn't stress too much about that. We are making throughout version 9 major updates to the rule designer first. So you're going to see quite a bit of changes start to come into there, like being able to, oh, I got these mixed up. It's okay. Like being able to like write algebraic formulas as part of your rule statements and run those repeatedly across your rules. But I'm building this here, obviously, to show off a couple functionality things, have a flow, good. But what's cool about version 9, now that everything's in a project, you'll start to see that I can interrogate and see all of the work that occurs inside of a project. This info page is going to give me something called project health. It's going to allow me to set what's called a primary entity, which is really just how do I quickly show 1 or 2 flows, rules, folders that I want designers to have quick access to. And you'll get to see some kind of overview information at the top here. If I take my flow, because I forgot to do this, and actually add a unit test, so let's add a new one. We'll call this some unit test. Again, great naming. Please ask questions. I'm just killing time. And that's saved. Cool. Save the flow just to be safe. I don't think I actually had to do that. Refresh my page. Cool. You'll start to see that these tabs on the left are actually actionable and start to give me oversight and information about the project. I can click the unit test I can see that the Lunch and Learn project has a flow called Demo V9. There's 1 unit tests. And the big value add here is that I can run a project's worth of unit tests from here and see all of the results summarized and all of the detailed results in this kind of hierarchy view of everything that's going on. So now I have a way to quickly get into a project and run a batch of unit tests for all my flows and rules that exist inside of there. So this actually does impact your health score, which I'll talk about, but it's a quick way to get that overview and see all the information. All entities is just a simple report of everything that exists in the project with the ability to quickly filter by like entity type. So I can find all my flows, find all my rules. I have some settings out here as well. So you can start to see all of the work here. And we've added a brand new feature that is really cool called to-dos. To-dos are like really small tasks, really small communication points that allow me to have kind of quick state changeable comments or tasks for people to work on within a project. So say, for example, in my flow, I didn't like, I need to make an update to it, right? So I'm in my flow here, demo V9, and I say, well, actually, I need someone to do some work on this flow. So I can add it to do on the flow itself. I can add it to folders themselves, or I can just add them generically to a project. But what's great about this is if I start to add these to-dos, I can say, hey, William, I guess this could be like, please update the pop-up step, Willie, or pop-up step, and I'll say this needs to be better formatted, do the needful. But I can assign this to a user in the system. Now I don't have any users because this is a clean install, but we'll do that. And you'll notice here now that I have to-dos captured as a part of this project, and this would list them all out. It'll link to where that thing lives, so I can actually link directly to that flow wherever that to-do was created. I can see it's assigned to a certain user. And now I can either make changes to it, or I can go ahead and complete the to-do and have that exit from the list. So this isn't quite a full like tasking mechanism. We have the tasking steps for you to accomplish that. This is a way for you to have some quick communication bits across the project. And we're going to leverage this in the future for things like committing your flows to the repository to promote between environments, where if someone's reviewing your flow and says, hey, I'm going to decline this commit because you forgot to add step names to everything, they can decline it and add to-dos for you to do your work. So it's just a way to help better have designer level communication within a project. And then the last tab you'll see here is an issues tab, which is really if you have a flow. If I go back to that flow real quick and break it, now this flow has a validation issue, which in turn will update my issues panel here. And we'll break this out by all of the entities inside of your project and get to see that these things are broken. And there's obviously something that you should probably take a look at and fix. Yeah, so this is the overview dashboard. Yeah, Robert posted in the chat. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, no one has asked questions yet. For anyone who's joining in late, please feel free to ask questions. I'm just talking a little bit about version 9 and going through some of the stuff, but this is still the Lunch and Learn, so ask anything you want. Oh yeah, Alex, let's go ahead and allow you to talk. There we go. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, hi there. I'm trying to figure. I'm having an issue with a flow that I've written. It's using the additional assignment actions.
Okay.
As a way to be able to, through a right-click event, be able to move an assignment along, even that kind of thing.
Okay.
But the difficulty that I'm having is that like I don't know whether this is a bug or what's going on, but if I have input defined to the flow, the only way that I can get it to go through properly is if I put it actually on the assignment form.
Okay.
So that so now it's got a data name and it can be referenced on the other side of the form.
Okay.
The difficulty that I'm having is that the information that I put on the form that I need on the other side of the form isn't available if I use an additional assignment action.
Okay.
So I'm trying to wonder how I get the stuff off the form down the action that is poking out the side of my assignment.
Certainly. Which additional action are you using? Are you
So
using just the
if
like a
you
right
go
click action?
to edit right there and then scroll down to the bottom.
Yeah, okay. So you have here, you're adding an additional,
Yeah.
like we don't want email response outcome, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Right click action. We're gonna call this right click complete test. Okay. Yeah, you can allow it for a single or an option, comment. Okay. And then we're gonna have, that's the dialogue context. Okay, cool. So you have an additional right click action. Let's just finish this assignment. Let's assign this to admin. I don't have a form. I'm gonna create a really simple form, and we're gonna add a text field that says test text. Using the word test a lot today, and a button so we can continue forward. Okay, so yeah, so I would expect that button, when I click, goes and does something. Let's just show a pop-up, and my right-click action can go do something else, or maybe goes the same way. Is that? I'm not sure your use case here.
Well, I mean, I do have like an OK and cancel, and
Okay,
so the right click goes down the OK path kind of thing.
got it. Okay, cool. So right-click goes down. Okay, maybe I click the button and it goes somewhere else. For now, I'm just going to put some values in here, just to make sure I understand your question correctly. And then we have it here. Okay. And so then this flow is asking for values. All right. Assignment name. Cool. Okay. And an action name is fill out form. So now when I create this assignment, I should have, why are you unhappy? What's your validation? Some outcomes require email handling.
Yeah, so that's a message that I get as well. I think it can be safely ignored, but
yeah, it totally can be safely ignored. I think it's just this checkbox here.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, if I turn that off, that validation should go away. Good, and no mapping.
Around,
Yeah, no mapping set to test from. Oh, that's for input. Yeah, I'm not pre-filling out the form. Okay, fine. Cool. Validation's gone. So if I run this flow, I should get a task with some input. That's fine. Cool. And I got my task. Okay, so there should be two. Oh, where'd you go? I should get two actions here, right? If I click this, I should have fill out form, which pops up my form, lets me fill out the form normally. And then my custom right click action, which is right click complete test. And then yeah, some response. Right?
Yeah.
Cool. So worked, ran my flow. Okay, so I think I have my setup correct. So what's the issue that you're seeing that data that's on the form can't be seen on the right click pass?
Yeah.
Okay. That is somewhat expected, I would imagine, because this path, the right click action path, doesn't show this form, correct? Like no one has filled out the form, so this path isn't going to understand that potentially there's data coming out of this form, right? Like if I look at this, the form step itself, it's going to say on the button path, obviously someone's opened this form and filled it out, so it goes in this path. But on the right click path, no one has actually opened and filled out this form. So I can't necessarily send the data out. But you're saying that the expectation is that that data would be here, like the same test form text data would be here, just empty.
Okay, so again, like I mean, my use case is slightly more complicated in the sense that what I do is I start by generating a list of approvers and levels. Okay, so you could have like whatever, it could be as simple as user one, level one, up to like multiple people at level one, multiple people at level two, multiple people at level three kind of thing, right? So, and then for each level, I basically broadcast all the assignments, and everyone gets an email saying you've got some work to do, kind of thing. And so now I'm cycling, got some for loops and this sort of stuff going through all of the levels, and then for all of the levels doing all of the assignments, kind of thing.
Okay.
The difficulty is that every time I call my assignment flow, it is getting the current user effectively. And that changes every time it gets called. But for some reason, decisions does not doesn't retain that information. You know, if we view that as like the left side is the input and the right side is the output of the assignment form, the information that is available on the left side does not get passed through to the right side unless it passes through the form. Okay, so so what I'm effectively saying is that if I have 3 different assignments with 3 different users, each time the assignment this assignment flow gets called, the correct information is coming in on the left side. On the right side, the information is always the first person at the first level, kind of thing. And the only way that I've been able to change that is I basically put some text boxes on the form with data names, and I put the left side information on the form, and so that as it comes out of the form, the information is still intact. So now, I mean, the problem that I'm having is that now we want to be able to use the additional action to allow an administrator or a boss or something like that to approve something that is waiting in someone's queue who's on sick leave or on vacation or whatnot, or that sort of stuff. So that's why we need the additional action, so that the person who's actually waiting to complete someone who can't, someone else can, the thing can get approved by another person, kind of thing. But now we're saying that because of this action thing, the information is no longer passing through the form. What I tried to do is I tried to actually press the edit button there and add specific fields and, you know, map the input to the fields and then pull them on the other side. And it will not maintain the data that's coming in as being the data that is available going out.
Yeah, that's interesting. It definitely sounds potentially like a bug, but there's some sort of weird data mapping here. And again, like your use case is significantly more more complex than ours. Okay. Yeah, without looking directly at your flow, which we could do on this call if no one else has any questions, I'm more than happy to look at this with you. The other option is we could set up a call with our support team to dive into a little bit better. But the expectation, just so you know, is your assumption is correct. That would be the expectation, is that data that is upstream of your steps, that even if this form or whatever branches, if the data was passed in upstream, it should be available here, right? Like in my very simple use case, test string input comes in as an input. Doesn't matter what happens here, unless obviously these steps are manipulating or changing it or doing something to the value. The data is still available down here, always, on both paths. And so your expectation is absolutely correct. Now, the expectation that I see different things here, right? Like on one path, I see test form text because that's the value coming out of my form. And on the other path, I see something different, like right-click action. That's also expected. But so I would say that there's something going on the mapping side between your input, whatever steps you have in front of it, and your form that is either a bug or something that we need to look at a little bit closely. So yeah, sorry, I was just reminded. Yeah, we can't have you share your screen. So I think the best bet there is let's follow up. I'm gonna write this down. Where's my notepad? There it is. Okay. Over on the screen real quick. I'll follow up with you after this. We'll get a support team member on. I think we just need to take a quick look at more detail of your use case. Potentially there's a step or something that's happening that's breaking the data, but your expectation is 100% correct.
Okay, great.
Okay. Yeah, we'll follow up after this call.
I appreciate that, Eric.
Yeah, we'll get someone on with you right away. Cool. I haven't built these right-click actions in a while too, so it's good to remember where those live in the portal. Cool. All right, let me go ahead and close this guy. Yeah, any other questions while you're off mute that I can answer while you're here?
Nothing off the top of my head. No, that was great.
Okay, cool. Then we'll get you an answer on that shortly.
Yeah, and again, like this is specifically related to levels because if I just need to do this once, everything works fine. But if I have a scenario where there's multiple levels going on and different bosses need to approve this thing because different employees are away, then once I get beyond one level, it's boom.
Let me write that down.
And again, the thing is that like the assignments data set is big, okay, and I work in a company where it's also shared, so I have my own type that mirrors the assignments data set, so that it's easier for me to manage stuff that I'm showing on the screen and that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And so the interesting thing is that the assignment actually gets updated properly. But it's actually when the secondary action after an assignment gets completed is for me to update all of my types. And that's where I can no longer do that because the information that's coming through to me is not the right information, kind of thing.
Got it. So you can't trust your data integrity.
Well, it's not finding the stuff. So
cannot update your custom type. Okay, cool. Sorry, just taking a bunch of notes on the side.
Great. Appreciate that, Eric.
Cool. Yeah, you bet. There we go. Close that. Cool. All right. Let me double check the questions. I don't see anything else coming in. So yeah. Cool. What do we got? 9:30. I was talking about version 9, just so if anyone who joined late, talking about kind of the latest updates. Everything's going to live in these projects. Projects are going to have all sorts of new dashboarding. There's really, like, before I kind of, we can wrap things up, there's really just 3 major impacts I really want to talk about here that will kind of change the way you approach building anything in decisions, rather something that kind of impacts quite a bit about your perspective and kind of the way that you think about projects. So number 1, yeah, this info dashboard's great, but more importantly, we've now added this ability to calculate what we call a health score. And for the beta version, we've defined a series of really rules that follow best practices for flows and forms and rules and things that you build a decision to make sure that you're kind of following these best practices, right? Like, have you changed the name from the default name? I have not, so that negatively impacts my score. I also haven't provided a clear description, so that's going to negatively impact the score. I don't have too many controls and I have no validation, so those will give me positive scores. But we're going to take everything you build in the platform, calculate a score against it, and sum that up to give you a rough project health score. And then as I make changes to this, like if I came in here and I called this simple testing of form text, and I say, this form is meant to test out form text box and make sure that mapping data goes downstream. I'm just trying to put some text into there so I can clear my validation. Now you'll see if I save that and go back to my health score, suddenly, it got dropped to the bottom. My description gave me a 95. My form name is now 100, and my project health has jumped up to an 83. But this is meant to give you a quick kind of project manager overview of what's going on in my project and how are my development best practices being impacted. Now, something we're adding in probably the very first update to version 9, so it should be there very, very soon, is the ability to write your own custom criteria here to determine what it means to have a quote-unquote healthy project. So maybe there's a certain naming criteria you'd like to follow. Maybe there's a certain organization schema you want your users to follow. You can actually write additional health criteria here that will enforce your additional best practices or turn off our best practices to calculate this health score. And so that's going to give you a lot more control over this and add some additional benefit there. The second major impact with projects is going to be this dependencies idea. Dependencies, now that we're kind of putting a top level organization to your work and everything must exist within a project, we're also putting putting those strong walls up so that users can no longer just use work generally across the platform. You won't see work that exists in other projects when developing within the project. So what I mean by that, for example, if I jump back into a flow, and this will impact my health score because I'm not changing the name, and say I wanted to run a subflow, right? Today in the decisions version 8, I can pick any flow that exists within the decision system. But you'll notice here, now that this picker window is updated, I can only see things that exist within my current project or things that I've added a dependency to. So if I wanted to go to another project, for example, I'm just going to do this in another tab so that I can jump back and forth quicker. I have another project on the server called Demo Decisions, V9, and it has flows and stuff. I'm not seeing Test Advanced Data Grid from within this project. I can't run it until I set up this dependency. This is very important. In order to use work and share work across projects, a user will have to go in, go to this dependencies tab, and actually set up and define which projects you have dependencies to and which features you want enabled for the project. Like say I've installed the Salesforce module and I want to turn that on for a project. You'll now have to do that additional step as well. And this does a couple of things. One, it makes it really clear and consistent what work relies on each other, but it also really stabilizes our deployments by being able to group the work together and understand its dependency at a much more explicit level. Moving that work from one environment to another has a much better kind of experience or impact. And so what that winds up looking like is now if I come in and I say run subflow, and now I go to pick an existing flow and I click dependencies. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, I'm in the wrong project. Hold on. Beep. Yeah, don't save. Yeah, I need to go to the lunch and learn project. Sorry, it's a one-way dependency. So it's not, you can't have create circular dependencies here. But if I go into flow 1, perfect, and pick my form, that's a flow. Yeah, I'll click dependencies and I'll see that I'm dependent. I have a dependency to this project and I can use my test advanced data grid now, right? That shows up here. This is one of the impacts of the icon, but now I could use that as a dependency. Once I save this, I can jump back over, refresh the screen, and I'll notice that this Lunch and Learn project relies on the Demo V9 project. It's using one item. That one item is the Test Advanced Data Grid. So now all of this is reportable, trackable, easy to be understood, explicit, etc.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I kind of missed the beginning of this thing. So, like, is version 9 available?
It's available in the beta state today. It will be officially released next month in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, and so there's a new structure going on here?
Correct. So at the very top level, like normally what you would organize into folders, we're creating a top level organization called projects. And so now all of your development work will live inside of projects first. And then inside the projects, you can have all your folders and flows and everything as well.
So is there a template for the project out of the box, or did you create all those folders?
This comes out of the box. This is templates, but it's completely customizable. You can remove these. You can also just add folders as normal at this point. So you can create your own scaffolding and organization here. Man, test is the only word I can think of today. But yeah, so this out of the box kind of public and manage like all of our settings for a project inside of here. And then all of your flows and works, you get templatized out of the box, yes.
Okay, cool. And so just out of curiosity, have you guys come up with the ability to do a diff between two flows?
Yeah, almost. Yes, that is in design. And that is something that we're going to do as part of our new commit process. So when you commit something up or want to look at historical versions, you'll be able to side-by-side compare them both in graphical view and in textual view. And if everyone closes their eyes for a quick second, understanding that these are conceptual designs, and so this is subject to change between now and final release. But the idea here is that you'll be able to pick between two versions of a flow, right? I can pick between branches if I'm connected to the repository, or look at local history, and it will highlight visually what steps and paths have changed. You'll be able to click into them and see, what the differences are and what step name properties have changed, and see how things are to be done. And then you also,
right.
yeah, you can also switch to graphical view and do like a proper code compare side by side, right? Where this will scroll together and I'll see, red has been removed, or green's been added, purple's been changed.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Yeah. So
And so,
this is already getting implemented, should be very early release of version 9.
okay, and the repository, like historically, it has just basically worked off of modification date kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so is that going to get better now that you can actually see the difference between objects?
Correct. Yeah. So what the plan is from a product roadmap standpoint, is that putting things into projects and having them move independently and compile. And actually, the side note for anyone who's technical and cares, these will now all compile independently now that they're all kind of constrained inside of their own areas. And so deployment becomes a lot more stable because you only compile the things that you're deploying or that are within a project rather than entire environments. Anyway, technical note aside, yes. So first is getting everything into these projects, being able to declare dependencies and make that explicit, moving them. We're going to improve the check-in and commit process next. And then the next major update is going to be to how you do branch management within the repository itself. So being able to look at all of the commits, create deployment packages, merge commits together to create new branches, all that sort of typical kind of repository code experience you'd expect. We're going to start adding in over release over the whole life cycle of 9, eventually getting to like scheduled deployments and container creation and deployment, those sorts of things in the kind of the far future. So yes, you'll see a lot of those updates occur iteratively through version 9. Historically in the past, we've done like major releases for this stuff. Like, for example, projects is a huge release. We've been working on it for 2 years, and suddenly version 9. We're switching philosophy a little bit, and we're going to be releasing these features over time a lot faster. So you'll see those come out.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, this isn't entirely related to what you're talking about right now, but one of the things that has been on my mind for a while is like the form that I see in decisions is basically, is that HTML?
Yes, basically.
Okay,
with
so
some extra.
right. So I mean, given that it's in HTML and there's like a step that's HTML to PDF, have you guys been able to do anything that allows us to, kind of export a form to PDF?
Yeah, I think that's actually, is that in? That's already been, yeah, that is something we're adding to the product. I'm not entirely certain which release that's been slated for.
Okay.
But yes, we've had a number of customers ask if we can do better, like you fill out a form and you complete it, right? And then you want to be able to export that as an image
Yep.
as part of flow data. Yes, that's already been approved and is in the roadmap. I'm just not exactly sure what release. So we'll be adding that pretty soon.
Okay, great. This has been a great lunch.
Good. Yeah, see? Happy to help.
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
I had raised my hand. I just wanted to ask kind of a one question and then also show something that is bothering me a little bit.
Go ahead.
Now I take it most of this, I've joined late because I don't know why, but a link that I had to join this thing stopped working, even though in the email with that link, it lists webinars well into next month.
Yeah,
but anyway, I'm here. So if we could, is this all about version 9? I just wanted to ask something about in version 8.
No, I was just talking about version 9 because I was trying to help.
Because you're selling it, I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have
Okay.
it's still mentioned there. Feel free to ask anything.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm trying to create a flow with inputs to which I want to have defaults.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for example, I create a flow and I go to the input, yeah, just create a flow. Okay, set up an input. Okay, just give it a name, and then click the pencil icon and give it a value, a constant. Okay, fine. Okay, save it. Now, all right, can you, I don't know, put in a show pop-up that displays that?
Perfect. We'll display it twice.
Just so you know. Okay, so let's save that. And can you go back to the folder though? Now, just try to run it, not debug it, but run it. So where's the default?
Yeah, so the default, it's not really listed here. The default will only be used if when you run the flow, you don't specify any value to that, right? So even though it didn't list it there, it popped up that window because it's saying, hey, this is a defined input. Do you want to provide data? So I think possibly just this run action might be a little confusing, but it might make a little more sense. Yeah. It might make a little more sense if I run this flow like in another process, right? So I come here, I pick flow 2. Now I can pass in an input here, but if I don't pass in an input, it will absolutely use whatever the default value I defined is. Right? So Eric will still get used here. Now, if I want to change that, if I don't set that to ignore or null, I guess null might behave a little different. But if I change that value here, it will override the default and then start to pass in test.
Oh, well, okay, hang on. Can you wait a minute? This is, you mean running a flow that has to run it just for the sake of being able to specify a default? The default to me is just way overcomplicated. Can you change the original flow such that the change the type to a numeric type?
Okay.
Okay, and put in a constant, like a positive constant, if you would, like 100. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay. So now when you run this,
use it here.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna be.
Yeah. So if I run, so you're saying just run it normally?
Yes.
That's level 2, right? Yeah.
Is it?
Okay.
Okay. Where's 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, so I think maybe this screen, I agree that this screen is going to be a little confusing here, right?
Well,
because
no, what I'm saying is, okay, you get when the input is a string, and you can tell the user, well, if you don't put in anything, it will default.
Correct.
But when the screen came up and you saw a 0 there as opposed to a null, wait a minute, I'm sorry, you went too fast. Did it
I'm just sorry, I was just testing something real quick. Sorry.
Okay, when you ran it normally and you saw the 0 there, hang on a minute. Whoa.
Okay.
Put that constant back, the 1, 2, 3 constant, please.
Yeah. I accidentally hit the is list. That's why I got messed up.
Okay. So please save that and then, run it from the folder if you could.
Okay. I just changed the property. So the reason it came up as 0 is because when I defined the input, it couldn't be null, which is a default we set on all of our numbers to protect our users.
Sure.
So when I set it up, I said, yes, this number can be null, which then on this input data obviously didn't pre-fill it with a non-null 0. And I was just wondering, if I run that, now it's going to use the default 1, 2, 3, because I didn't specify that when I ran the input data. I do agree
initially, again, I'm trying to get just as simple as possible. I defined my default. You defined the default as 1, 2, 3. When you ran the flow, the screen came up and it showed 0. And I think, it seems to me that the number 0 would go through. 1, 2, 3 doesn't appear anywhere. The other default, Eric, doesn't appear anywhere. So how is the user visually going to know this is a default string? And if you leave it alone, it'll be that way.
Yeah.
You see?
I agree. I think that's a little confusing and misleading. I think the way defaults are defined today is that default is the value we use if no other value is provided, but we don't visually represent that to our users well here. So I'd agree that that's probably something we can enhance and make a little bit better.
Okay. Now, I want to show you something else that really, really bothers me. So if you could go back into editing that flow, please.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. Now, let's just see. And by the way, you're running version 9
Correct.
right now? Okay.
Yes.
Do me a favor and go into the search bar in the toolbox and type in XML.
Okay.
And then hit enter and it'll come up. Okay. Now, I want you to picture this up. I'm fairly new to this. We just got this product in October. I'm a developer and we've been using this thing, but up until October of last year, I'd never heard of decisions. And so we're trying to make our way through this. Even our admins are new to this, et cetera. Nobody in our company had ever heard of this. So for the first time last week, I was given a task to create a decisions flow that will generate XML files. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm pretty sure decisions handles XML and JSON as well as CSV, blah, blah, blah. So I type in this, whatever. Now, if you would hover over XML serialize and then click its information icon. Okay, great. And then, yeah, for me, it looks a little different because I'm using version 8. But if you click that link in the lower left that says documentation, it's going to lead you somewhere.
Yep.
Great. Okay. But now go back to your flow with the toolbox up, close this off. All right. Now hover over XML deserialize. And can you click the eye icon for me? Okay, well, for me, it comes up with a box that has absolutely nothing in it except the name. Ah, there you go. Look at that. All right. At least you have a little blurbs there, but there's no documentation link. For me in version 8, XML deserialize comes up with a box that just says XML deserialize twice. No link, no edit button, no nothing. Okay. I'm finding that everywhere because anytime I have to begin a new project, I have to search for steps that do that. So, let me see. What's another thing I search for? Can you get rid of the word XML and put in the word download?
Yeah. If I can spell it.
There you go. Now, can you try to find documentation from here on download by SFTP?
Yeah.
Okay, and then click the link. All right, so for me, I get a 404 not found.
Gotcha. Yeah, so just to like update you on that, this is something that has been a work in progress, and it's something we're continuing to update over time. But there's a whole section of the documentation called step library, which is trying to systematically go through. But since we have so many steps, this has just kind of been a labor of love for our documentation team. So you'll notice, and this is unfortunately just the truth of it, that these are going to get updated over time. And as we release newer versions, you'll see like some of these descriptions still aren't great. Some of them don't have documentation links yet, and so that's just something we will continue to improve over time. But so that's a totally fair frustration.
Okay, it is quite frustrating, and see, my philosophy is, look, especially with your product, that is a massive attempt to reach out to the non-technical. And honestly, I'm not being sarcastic about that. It is truly a massive good attempt to reach out to people who are non-technical. When they're trying to find steps and find out what they do, and they click those little information icons and there's no link to the documentation, or if there is, it doesn't work. You know, that's really hard to deal with. It's very hard to deal with. I understand there are some you know, there's thousands of steps and everything like that, but to me, your documentation is really the interface to your customers. And once again, it's even more important because your customers are non-technical. You know, that's and like I said, just about every time I do what you're doing here, that is searching for some keyword, finding relevant steps, and then clicking these links, I get links that are either bad or missing. So it's all over the place. Now, one other thing. The step that you had up before called XML, not deserialized, but dynamic to object, I think. Okay. XML to dynamic. No, that's fine. And I have a ticket in place. The very first time I tried that step, it didn't work. I sucked in an XML file and it ignored about half of it in the middle. Anyway, there's a DT on that. Don't worry about that. I think it's in testing. But what this thing does, it says, is to convert XML to something called an expando object. Now, I searched the entire documentation for the word expando, and I get two links, one of them to XML to dynamic, and one of them, I guess, is a parallel JSON to dynamic. And it just explains within its text that an expando object you can manipulate at runtime. And I'm trying to find out how, and I can't find it for the life of me.
Yeah, I'm not terribly familiar with the output of like what this is. And actually what's interesting is I'm not even seeing, I guess we don't define the output type until you actually give it XML.
If you have an XML file handy, you can just run this, you know, you can run this flow on it. What it does is it converts it to this object, which looks basically like you know, either the input or the output. When you have run a flow and you right click on a step and you say, show me the input and the output, it's like it looks like a JSON tree full of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it puts it into some object. Is that just name value pairs, I assume?
Yeah, but it's a whole tree structure of it.
Okay.
So it's a tree structure that's parallel to the XML file.
Makes
so
sense.
If you have a big XML file, you know, you can bring that in and you'll get, and so that's an expando object. But I'm trying to find out how to manipulate it. I search the entire documentation. I find nothing at all.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know.
Okay. That's something I'll definitely give that feedback back to the team. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I have just expando object, which is I don't know how to manipulate. So yeah, that's again, totally fair, great point. I don't have any steps related to it.
Well, I mean, I want to drive home my general point about the documentation. Again, it's, you know, new customers have never heard of decisions and they want to know how to run this thing, and the documentation is the only thing they have. And when things are missing from the documentation, they have nothing to go with.
I think that's a very valid point, Andy.
Yeah. Listen, I know it's a great deal of work. I've written documentation before. I've worked with technical writers before. It ain't easy. But yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, we got to do something better there. Okay. Yep. Totally heard. I will absolutely take some action on that feedback and go meet with the team. We'll see what we can definitely do better here. But yeah, I think. Yeah, no,
the display of default values as well would definitely help.
Yeah, for that one, honestly, I think just the best thing there is that whenever you're running a flow and displaying like constants. So in the debugger would also be another place that I think this is valuable, right? If I click debug, I should see default values here. If I click run, I should see default values. If I use it in another flow, we won't see default values, and I think that's okay. Maybe if I set it to constant, we could. But the idea being, if I'm setting a value here, is that I'm going to provide a value to override the default. So I wrote that one down. I think probably we got to consider that and see how we can display the default values better and kind of inform the user. And then I'll take
Play the default values, period.
Yeah, right. Yeah, display them at all. And then I'll take the feedback on documentation and kind of some of the stuff, and I'll take that back to the team as well. But we'll yeah, we'll keep making this better, man. That's our goal.
All right.
Cool.
I'm glad I got in on time. I'm told actually that the initial link I used, which used to work and doesn't anymore, will again in the future. So
oh yeah, we switched around some of the Zoom administration stuff. We had some account issues, so sorry about the link thing, but we're trying to get it sorted on our end real quick.
Okay, thank you.
You bet, man. All right, we're wrapping up on time. I didn't see any other questions or hands raised, so we're coming up on the hour. We'll go ahead and end things here. But thanks for joining. Thanks for asking all the questions. If you want more about version 9, keep an eye on your inbox. Specifically, we're going to be sending a webinar that announces and kind of demonstrates all the parts of version 9. But you're also welcome to join these lunch and learns anytime you can. So thanks everyone for your time. Appreciate it, and we'll catch you soon.
Yeah, thanks.
Take care, guys.